Writing is hard. And I know that's not a bold revelation or a hot take by any means, but it's something that doesn't get mentioned nearly enough for my liking. Because creating an engaging plot with interesting characters is one of the most difficult things a writer can do. And even if you assemble all the right pieces, an interesting premise, layered characters, high stakes, there's still no guarantee that those pieces will fit together the way you want. And even if they do, there's still no guarantee the audience will respond the way you want them to. It's a truly massive undertaking, and there's still a third pitfall. Even if you create a great story with excellent characters, you can still ruin it by making a few well-meaning adjustments. And unfortunately, that's exactly what I think happened to Astarion in Baldur's Gate 3. Don't get me wrong, the game is a masterpiece by all possible measures, but it has one consistent flaw that holds back a lot of the companions. And that's pretty simple. It wants to keep us, the players, happy. And on paper, that doesn't sound like a bad thing. Games are supposed to be enjoyable. They're supposed to be fun. But in the case of Baldur's Gate 3, while attempting to make the companions more likable and appealing, the writers removed core aspects of the characters that made them interesting to begin with. You can see it pretty clearly with Will, whose story avoids leaning too far into the bitterness and anger his situation would realistically create, and you can also see it with Astarion, a character who had all the potential to have the richest, most complicated arcs in the game, but instead just ends up feeling incomplete. Also, massive spoiler warning for the entirety of Baldur's Gate 3. If you don't want to be spoiled, I recommend you leave now and leave a like on your way out as per tradition. Our very first encounter with Astarion involves him faking desperation before putting a knife to our throat. It's a very bold introduction to say the very least, considering he does this even if you have a wizard, a Githyanki, and the Blade of Frontiers just chilling on the side. So either he's stupid or he's packing some ogre-sized balls in those tight pants of his. Either way, it sets him up as a dangerous playful wildcard, the classic roguish companion. He seems like he'll be a chaotic neutral delight, the unpredictably morally flexible type that's also incapable of telling the truth, like any of these lovely gentlemen. However, that trickster archetype unravels very quickly because Astarion doesn't just enjoy chaos, he thrives on cruelty. He consistently approves of the most cold-blooded decisions and revels in other people's suffering. So much so that he slips from being a cheeky little gremlin to more of a full-blown sadist. And that honestly would be fine if his story wasn't so heavily framed as a tragedy. Because, you see, we're told and shown that he was enslaved, beaten, and forced to do all manner of horrific things for 200 years under the vampire lord Cazador. That kind of backstory should come with some serious psychological weight. Like, this is textbook trauma. I'm talking repression, rage, vulnerability, the whole shebang. And honestly, it does. Thanks to Neil's incredible voice acting and the top-tier facial animation, shoutouts to Neil and the whole entire Larian team, you can actually feel how much this weighs on him throughout the entire game. All of that is to say, his pain should be very easy for me to empathize with, but it just doesn't land the way it should. Like, I do feel bad for him, and I get it, but he's also so openly cruel and malicious that I struggle to see him as the victim that I know he is. Now, the obvious rebuttal here is, well, duh, he was tortured for 200 years and forced to do all manner of terrible things. Of course he turned out like this. And yeah, that's 100% correct. His initial setup is fantastic. I'm not arguing with that at all. It's everything after that I have a problem with. It's like this. The game keeps trying to show us the broken man Astarion became, but we have no idea who he was before all of that. Take this scene, for example, the one where he opens up about his feelings towards Cazador's plan to sacrifice thousands of his fellow vampire spawns.
Of course I envy him. Why wouldn't I? The problem with what Cazador has done is that he did it to me. If the time comes and I can stay one move ahead of him, I'll take his place before his blood can hit the floor.
Mind you, this takes place in Act 3, but by this point we've learned a lot about him, especially about the abuse, but we still haven't gotten any meaningful details about who he was before all of that went down. No talk of his childhood, no old friends, no hobbies, nothing. And I know that sounds silly, but it's important. This should be a really powerful moment. He's revealing that he has the same twisted, selfish morality as his abuser. This should either show us how far he's fallen, or on the flip side suggest that maybe he was always like Cazador and the only thing missing was the power. But because I have no reference to the kind of person he was before, I don't know what any of this means. I can't tell if he's fallen or if he's revealing his true self. I have no idea what's going on right now. Like, guys, there's a reason why every movie with a shitty villain or anti-hero gives you some sort of flashback or exposition about who they were before, so you can understand their current actions. And I know the writers understand this because they literally do this with every other companion, and they even do this with the Emperor like twice. It's so jarring that it honestly feels unfinished, like a major part of his story just got cut from the game. And that's when it finally clicked. What if something was missing? So I did what any responsible adult with a full schedule should do. I put another 100 hours into Baldur's Gate 3. And you know what I found? Jack fucking shit. No new revelations, no secret backstory dump, just the same old lore. He was a magistrate, he pissed off a group of Gur, they attacked him, and Cazador showed up like a discount Dracula and turned him into a vampire spawn, blah blah blah, or in this case, blah blah blah.
I don't say blah blah blah.
And Larian, those sneaky little geniuses, had a built-in excuse. He doesn't even remember his own eye color, so how is he supposed to remember any other details from his previous life? How convenient. So finally, after reaching my breaking point, I did the thing I should have probably done from the very beginning. I Googled it, and there it was. The first link. A bit anticlimactic, honestly. But here's where things get fun. Guess where this absolutely vital piece of character context was stashed? Was it in a hidden secret quest line, a forgotten journal, a hidden memory sequence? Nope, none of that. It was in the official goddamn art book. Of all places, the art book. It says, 200 years ago, Astarion was a corrupt elite of Baldur's Gate. With a taste for power and a hunger for eternal life, it wasn't long before those desires turned into a nightmarish reality. Boom, just like that, everything makes sense. He's not Edward, he is Dio. He's not supposed to be a tragic, closed-off boy with a mysterious past with a heart of gold. He's a villain who got exactly what he wanted, just not how he imagined. Now he has to crawl his way back from the hole he dug himself into. So why hide this essential part of his story in the art book? 2 words, vampire boyfriend. And none of you better act confused. You know exactly what I mean. Because you see, while I might be a happily married 99.99% straight man, I too know the appeal of a perfect vampire boyfriend. The feeling is universal. He's got to be handsome, and I mean perfect. Perfect face with rock-hard abs. He needs to be emotionally scarred, and bonus points if he's physically scarred too, but not on the face. Never on that pretty face. And lastly, he needs to have a connection to us that he can't break. And through that connection, we help him overcome his emotional issues so he can let go of his baggage and truly love us. And with that understanding, you can't just have him be evil to the core. We have to be able to fix him. So if you remove Astarion's backstory about being a corrupt elite, that's exactly what you get. He goes from being Dio to a sassy boy with trauma, which is just Dio again. But you know what I mean. Unfortunately, though, Larian didn't fully commit. Because if you're not distracted by his aforementioned abs and the charm, the dude is just irredeemably evil. Like when you get to Cazador's vampire lair, you find 7,000 vampire spawns required for his ritual. About 2,000 of them, give or take, were lured in specifically by Astarion. So he feels quite a bit of guilt, especially when he's confronted with the ones who remember him. And after facing his victims, you can see the guilt and turmoil piling up. He's starting to take accountability for the unfortunate, unwilling role he played in all of this. Can he really go through with Cazador's method, killing all these people? And the answer is a resounding yes. Even when you talk to the victims who've been locked in the cages for nearly 200 years, no sunlight, no food, no personal space, just endless suffering. He doesn't care. The best part is if you have the audacity to say you should free them, he says this.
And what am I owed? What about the injustices I've suffered? Am I not entitled to anything?
And if you bring up the literal children he recently kidnapped and handed over to Cazador, he gives the exact same answer. And here's where things get somehow worse, because he admits that he was living better than these spawns strapped in these cages. So logically, right, you would think that he would just free them. But nope, because if you choose the ending where you stop him from ascending, he kills Cazador, picks up the staff that controls the prison cages, and instead of freeing everybody, he breaks it. He takes the only thing that could give these people their freedom and snaps it like a twig. Why? Because if he can't have his freedom, then no one gets freedom. It's not grief, it's not trauma, it's just pure unfiltered spite. And I gotta be honest, I was shocked. This wasn't some sad, broken man giving up. It was just straight up petty evil. And what's wild is that, unlike most companions, your actions don't affect this decision at all. You could have 100% approval with him. You could romance him. You could let him suck all the blood from your teats, and he'll still choose power every single time. Which is especially odd because right before the boss fight, he says this. He literally says this.
I could never have saved them. But now there's a choice to make.
So he knows it's wrong, he says it out loud, but when the moment comes, he folds spectacularly. Now, technically, the game says he's being tempted by all the blood in the air and he isn't thinking clearly, but I call bullshit because A, he still gives a calm, logical argument for why he should go through with it.
These people died years ago. Trust me on that. All that's left are feral spawn, desperate for blood. If we release them, how many people will they kill? Tens of thousands? Hundreds of thousands?
And B, it doesn't line up with anything we've seen. At no point has he ever cared about others enough to justify his concern for the general population of Baldur's Gate, which again is fine. He doesn't need to be a good guy or be redeemed, but since we must have the perfect vampire boyfriend, we get a rushed good ending. You roll the dice and give him a generic, "the power will trap you," or "you won't be proud of this" line, and suddenly he just stops.
You're right.
He no longer wants the power that his very nature as a vampire drives him to seek, all handled with a pep talk. Just like that. No inner conflict, no long-term growth, just instant redemption. It's lazy, it's dishonest, and it's emotionally cheap. Even the best part of his arc, him dealing with his intimacy issues and realizing he has full bodily autonomy, gets bogged down by his lack of growth. Cause how am I supposed to feel about that when he turns around and denies the same bodily autonomy to 7,000 other people? Hell, he even tries to bite you early in the game without asking, a bite that would have killed you, by the way.
Shit.
After you've done nothing but offer him hospitality, despite him trying to kill you the moment he met you. The dude doesn't change, he doesn't evolve. Even his good ending literally requires you to persuade him not to be a monster, despite everything you guys have been through. So, if you didn't fall in love with his sass or his aforementioned abs, there's nothing in his actual story to hold on to. It's all style with small crumbs, this insignificant crumbs of substance. And yet, I don't hate Astarion's story because on paper, it's brilliant. It's about the multifaceted responses people can have to trauma, how victims aren't always good people, how some of them become monsters, some of them even start to resemble their abusers, but that doesn't make them any less victims. It's messy, it's real, or at least it should be, but the execution is lacking to say the very least. The tone is off, the vibe is confused. The game acknowledges that Astarion is not a good person in any sense and gives you plenty of chances to get rid of him, but at the same time, his whole storyline relies on you finding him at least somewhat sympathetic for it to be impactful. It's just not very good. But anyway, I hope in the next game Larian goes all out. No more holding back. Give me the weird, give me the bold, give me the raw, unfiltered chaos that make these stories unforgettable. And that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, leave a like and do all that. Tell me I'm wrong, tell me I'm right. Have all the discussions. I'll be reading all the comments. Thank you.